trust.
I know what you mean, Blair.
Trust's a tough thing to come by these days.
The Thing is an absolute masterpiece of cinema. The way it deals with a group of Arctic researchers slowly coming to realize that the people around them might not be who they say they are is brilliant. Tensions flare up, everyone is sleep deprived, and things start to slowly divulge into chaos. The director John Carpenter had the difficult task of controlling the swirling vortex of mistrust and uncertainty, and everything could have easily become convoluted. But he knew exactly how to create these moments of sheer horror and tension that give the viewer just enough information to keep us guessing at every corner. The ways that Carpenter deals with the isolation and trust issues between the crew is what I want to focus on in this video. Not being able to trust the people around you can literally be a death sentence, especially in The Thing. Isolation can have a nasty toll on the body and the mind. Insomnia, hallucinations, and even the Antarctic stare are what McGrady and company have to deal with for the next 6 months. These side effects on the body and the mind can really take a toll on the relationships with the people around you. In The Thing, we are shown through multiple sly comments like,
It's getting cold in here, Fuchs, and I haven't slept in
Wait a
2
minute,
days.
Mac.
that this group of people is already experiencing the effects of isolation on the mind. By showing us what scientists actually face in the Arctic, it helps keep this science fiction film grounded in reality. Well, that is until we're introduced to The Thing. The crew gathers around and witnesses something that can't be explained or comprehended. A motionless creature that revolts and disturbs everyone in the room with it. After that, we see everyone just kinda go back to normal, as if there isn't a shape-shifting alien just 2 rooms over. No one is really worried or verbally concerned until... Now this is where things get interesting. The group hasn't, well as Windows says,
I haven't been able to reach shit in 2 weeks.
letting us know that these men are truly alone. Even before the dog and the trigger-happy Swedes, Norwegians show up, everyone was already on edge or fed up with each other. The way Bennings hits the intercom,
Knowles, will you turn that crap down? I'm trying to get some sleep.
and how Knowles reacts. And the way Gary wakes Windows up shows us everything we need to know about the relationships between the crew.
You reach anybody yet?
Once the 2 doctors find out that the Thing can imitate other life forms perfectly, they secretly start to suspect that some of the other crew members might already be infected. This is done subtly through the questioning of Clark, the only person that was around that dog for an extended length of time, and through the slight head tilt by Fuchs, not wanting to talk to Mac around everyone else. As the audience, we see the trust between the crew members start to crack. People are literally losing their marbles and getting locked up outside in the storage shed. And this is where tempers start to flare, when people start assuming who might be infected. We as the audience can feel exactly what the crew members are feeling in these exact moments, because we have no information either. We don't know who is infected, but we are given glimpses and hints of it, like when the dog enters the room in the beginning and Norris holding his chest. No one knows who the Thing is, not us or the crew members. This deliberate trail of breadcrumbs is used to misdirect us, making us second guess ourselves and keep us constantly thinking throughout the length of this film. Then we get this interesting moment.
I said, watch Clark.
Mac finally understands that one of the crew is probably infected and tells the others to watch Clark because he was close to that dog. We just saw Blair destroy their only means of communication and transportation, but he was still able to put the doubt of Clark into Mac's head. That is how far gone everyone's trust levels are at. The film keeps us constantly guessing who might be infected, and even the one person meant to be in charge has to resort to a hostile takeover to ensure his own survival.
Anyone messes with me and the whole camp goes.
At this point, all trust is gone, and the person holding a bundle of dynamite is suspect number 1 of being a Thing. Everyone still alive gets funneled into the rec room for a blood test. Clark attacks McGrady, and Mac wastes him without a second thought. And this is where I noticed a pattern of implication used throughout this film. After watching the Quadrants video from Every Frame a Painting, I started noticing how directors use this to convey information non-verbally. Within The Thing, Carpenter uses this to implicate who the crew thinks are infected. In the blood room incident, we see the camera do this slow pan to the left when they start figuring out who actually had access to the blood storage. The 2 men that are being questioned are exclusively shown on the left side of the screen. It's also shown in the outside scene when McGrady tells the 3 people most likely to be infected to be tied up in the rec room. It's a very subtle way of letting the viewer inside the crew's predicament and adds a layer of invisible storytelling. When it comes to rewatching films, these tiny details are very crucial to the rewatch. They add some discovery and excitement to any film a person likes enough to watch 2 or 3 times. That's why I love rewatching The Thing once a year. I always catch some new details that deepen my love for this film. On my most recent watch through, I noticed that they use these quadrants one more time. After Max shoots Clark, if you isolate and watch either side of the screen, you can see the different degrees of emotions on each actor's face. On the left, we see the pure shock of what he's just done from Mac, and the fear and anger coming from the crew on the right. The one person that was supposed to be the leader is now the biggest suspect of being infected since he's on the left side of the screen now. Everyone is about to be tied up by McGrady, and there is nothing they can do about it. The upcoming couch scene is something I've always wanted to dissect in a video because it actually does something that is so hard to get right. A good jump scare. The purpose of the blood test is to figure out who actually is a creature in disguise, and we see McGrady testing each person's blood against a hot wire looking for a reaction. The scene is absolutely silent, except for the sounds of the howling winds outside. The first test with windows has multiple fast cuts right before the needle touches the blood, and nothing happens. After multiple tests with no reaction, we are led to believe that this test isn't proving anything, with Gary saying,
"This is pure nonsense. Doesn't prove a thing."
It makes us forget for that split second that Mac is testing the blood and lowers our guard, just in time for... God, I love this scene because it does so many things perfectly. The camera angle is focused on Mac, with the blood near the bottom corner of the screen to take our attention away from it. They use a prosthetic hand for the jump scare, and they show it just before the actual jump to get the viewer accustomed to it. With the blood acting with a mind of its own, the anticipation of what's about to happen next is unbearable. You want to see the sheer horror of what beautiful abomination that's about to be unveiled to the viewer, but at the same time are fearing for the men stuck in this terrifying situation. The sheer panic, perfectly conveyed through the characters tied to the creature, is one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen in science fiction. After disposing of the creature, every test comes back negative after that encounter. Within one 8-minute scene, Carpenter is able to get an entire camp that is trying to kill each other into trusting each other once again. I absolutely love this scene, and it ends with probably the best line in the entire film.
"When you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking couch!"
The Thing is my favorite movie of all time. Instead of isolation being the only battle the crew has to face, the film shows us that the breakdown of trust can be the real killer. This film keeps you constantly guessing on who is infected, giving the viewer the same amount of trust that is between the crew members. Even the very last scene has kept people speculating on if Childs was infected, since we aren't given any definitive answers on who we can trust in the end. In an environment already prone to isolation and trust issues, you could make an entire movie just on those topics alone. That's what makes this movie so exhilarating though. It combines the breakdown of trust and the fear of the unknown into the perfect concoction of suspense and horror. The nihilistic ending also perfectly wraps up a film that has shown us what the deepest corners of space might hold and has kept us guessing on who is infected and who can be trusted. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Seriously, thank you guys so much for watching to the end. I make videos on movies, video games, anime, pretty much anything that I think I can talk about at length. If you guys like this style of video, let me know down in the comments. And I would actually really appreciate it if you shared this with someone that you think might like this video, because that's really one of the only ways that can help me grow my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and just remember, be excellent to each other.